Welcome to Running the Table, the podcast where we run through everything on the table in the world of college basketball. And it's here. It's time. March Madness is finally upon us, and you know exactly what that means. The longest video of the year, first round predictions, because we have a lot of games to run through and a lot of things to predict, both right and wrong. So, Tim, are you ready to go?
I am so ready. Let's run it.
Well, before we do, if you haven't already, join our bracket challenge, our ESPN bracket challenge. If you want to see how you stack up against our brackets, link will be in the description. Throw your entry in, throw your hat into the ring, and see what you got. Maybe you can dethrone Tim.
Hey, I'm looking for some competition. You'll be up against both our combined picks because we always put an
We
RTT
do have a joint bracket.
bracket out there ourselves, and then we put our individual picks out there. I might throw in a couple more fun ones just to have some more brackets in there, but it'll be fun to see how we all stack up.
Absolutely. But let's get to the games, starting in the East with UConn and Stetson. I think this one's pretty cut and dry. Who's stopping UConn? Definitely not Stetson. Yep.
Nope.
Absolutely not. We both have the Huskies. How you doing? Keep it moving. I don't think this one requires any explanation on your end. So let's go to the coin flip 8-9 in Florida Atlantic versus Northwestern. This one's going to be interesting because these two teams are very, very similar in how they're constructed, how they're made up. They have good guard play, star guard play. They got bigs that can beat you. And this one's really a toss up. I mean, Northwestern has had the harder strength of schedule. FAU has the tournament experience with their Final Four appearance. Um, and that's why I'm going with the Owls, because you can't quite replace tournament experience, even though Northwestern does have a fair bit of their own. Florida Atlantic knows what it's like to really go through the gauntlet, reach the pinnacle, the top stage, and really come through.
Yeah, I love Northwestern. Honestly, I think if they were at full strength, I would be picking the Wildcats here. But what it came down to for me is the fact that Northwestern is not full strength. Obviously, we've talked about not having Ty Berry for them, but they're also still up in the air about having Matthew Nicholson, their center. So if they have
Ooh.
to play small against Vlad Golden, I think that's not going to work out great for them. So I give FAU the edge here.
Yeah, that's a great point. Playing undermanned is never a good thing, especially at the time when you really, really need to be at
And
full
they don't
strength.
have a lot of depth at center. So they
Yeah.
don't have a ton of size behind Nicholson.
Next up, we have San Diego State and UAB. This is a 5-12 matchup that a lot of people lean UAB because of how they ran through the American and won that conference tournament. However, there's only one team that really stood up to and defeated the Aztecs all year, and that's New Mexico. And as far as I'm concerned, New Mexico's all the way on the other side of the bracket. So San Diego State is nothing to worry about. They also have the experience as one of those Final Four teams. Every Final Four team that made it from last year is in the East. Rest in peace, Miami. You stunk this year. You didn't earn it. But, regardless, I got the Aztecs.
I do as well, actually. I think what it comes down to is yes, UAB has been playing very, very well, but the overall team makeup, experience, and actually some of the offensive side of the ball that, despite their good defense, that San Diego State brings. I like their ability to shut down UAB just a little bit and give them the edge with their defensive prowess. So I've got the Aztecs as well.
We're three for
We
three in
will,
agreement so
we
far.
will be this. I think this happened last year where we started off very similar, and
I
it
don't
will get
like it. I'm not a
it will get
fan.
different.
Yeah, it
But I
absolutely
got to
will.
be honest, I don't think it's going to be any different for this next one here.
No, with Auburn and Yale, the smartest basketball teams more often than not win. But Yale's smart in the classroom, not exactly on the court. Auburn is a juggernaut. They're one of the most well-balanced, well-rounded, deepest teams in the nation, and they should have no problem overcoming Yale.
Yeah, Yale barely made it into this one with the slight edge in their conference tournament final. Auburn just is
Yeah,
way
against
too
a below
solid.
500 Brown, where they won on a buzzer beater. So
It just comes down to, regardless of how well Yale might or may not be playing right now, Auburn's just too balanced, and I struggle to see a lot of teams handling their intense on ball pressure defense. Yale's not going to be one of them.
up next, we have the 6-11 of the East, BYU and Duquesne. This is where I'm going with my first upset because I really do like the Dukes in this matchup. I think they match up really well with what BYU tries to do, and all it takes is one stinker. And if you catch BYU napping, it's really not pretty, like we saw in the Big 12 tournament. So I got the Dukes.
Yeah, this was one where I really was looking at Duquesne pretty hard here. But actually, as it comes down to, I am going to stick with them recovering from their rough loss in their conference tournament. I've actually got BYU bouncing back.
Yay, we
I don't see
disagree.
I don't see BYU shooting that poorly, that consistently, and I think that Duquesne is a solid team, but I don't think they'll have as much success guarding BYU from the outside as some other teams will. So I like BYU.
Next up, we got Illinois and Antonio Brown's national champion and Morehead State because reasons. Sorry to disappoint you, Antonio Brown, but Illinois is too big, too strong, too powerful, too experienced, too talented, and they're playing fantastic basketball right now. I don't really see, even though they have the same record, one of those 26 and 8 is a lot different than the other. So I'll take the Illini, please.
I totally agree. I think what it comes down to is regardless positions 2 through 5, when it comes like the starters on the floor, I don't think anyone on Morehead State can stop the tear that Terrence Shannon Jr. is on right now, scoring 40 and 34 in his last 2 games. So with the way that Illinois scores the ball, they're moving on in this one.
The 7-10 here is Washington State and Drake. Washington State was a really good story this year, coming out of nowhere, emerging into the top 25. And on the other side, you got Drake, who beat Indiana State and essentially knocked them out of the tournament. I know a lot of people want Indiana State to be in, but with how small the bubble is, it's Drake's spot. And with Tucker DeVries and that experience that they have, they've been here before. They ran into a buzzsaw in Miami last year. This Washington State team is not that. I have the 10 seed Drake.
I actually do as well. I really like that experience with Tucker DeVries and the way that they can score the ball. Washington State has played well this year, getting the nod as high as the 7 seed here, but I don't know. There's just something about the way Drake plays that it just feels like this one that they're gonna. I won't even necessarily say surprise people because I feel like this is a popular pick when this East region came out, but people went, let's look at this one.
Yeah.
So I do believe in Drake in this one that they'll come out on top.
And the final matchup of the East is Iowa State and South Dakota State. Um, Apologies to the Summit League champs, but who is South Dakota State compared to an Iowa State team that just mollywopped Houston in the Big 12 tournament championship? I've been really high on this Iowa State team the whole way. I picked them to win the Big 12, and that's not going to stop here. I got to moving on to the second round.
Yeah, what it comes down to for me is they've looked really good, and we saw what defense for someone like San Diego State was able to do last year. Iowa State is still relatively solid on the offensive end as well, as they were able to show against Houston in that matchup. So I got the Cyclones moving on as well.
One region down, 3 to go. Moving on to the South with the 116 Houston and Longwood. Houston next.
Yeah, as much as Longwood is a very fun name, no.
Yeah, I mean, you got to respect the Lancers for making it this far, but as a 16 seed, yikes. Now we got Nebraska and Texas A&M. Tim, I know you've been really high on Nebraska, their offense, their sneaky good defense, and how fast and electric they are. And on the other side, Texas A&M's kind of the opposite. They'll want to slow you down. They'll want to play at their pace. And this is really a pace game of who's going to control the pace, fast versus slow. And as much as I like Nebraska, as fun as they are to watch, I'll take the slow pace team here. Give me the Aggies. They're playing about as well as anybody else. And I really hope we disagree on this one because, Tim, you would throw me through a huge loop if we didn't.
No, I 100% am going with Nebraska here. I love the way they play. I love the elite 3-point shooting with Keisei Tominaga, CJ
Big Ten
Wilshire.
bias. Kidding.
If they go with if they can get Rink Mass going as well, they are looking for their first NCAA tournament win as a program. So I think Nebraska gets it in this one.
Wait, ever?
Yes, that's what I saw.
Wow. See, I did not know that.
Yeah,
Then I hope for the
coming with the
program's
fire.
sake that they do.
They are 0-7 all time in the NCAA tournament.
Well, if it goes according to plan, they'll be 0-8. But we're going to move on with the 5 and the 12. Another Big Ten team in Wisconsin, the Big Ten runner-up, against the 31 win James Madison Dukes. Wisconsin was not happy to draw JMU, and for good reason. They know it's not going to be easy. And with this 5-12, I'm going to count on JMU to get their 32nd win. There's just something about the Big Ten, a weak Big Ten in the tournament that doesn't quite scream confidence to me. So, I mean, I like the Dukes. This is another popular upset, by the way. I just see it happening. That's all.
Quite frankly, I see Wisconsin winning a 5-12 matchup if they are facing anyone but JMU. But JMU looks extremely solid and they look about as foolproof as a 12 seed can be. They're just an extremely strong 12 seed with the way they play, the way they hold on to the ball, the way that they are able to score the ball. So I have JMU in this one as well. Realistically, I actually do really like the way Wisconsin is playing as of lately. I say the only way they win this one is if they can get Chucky Hepburn to put up 20 plus again, like he has in their last 2 games in the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah,
Because he stepped up
I agree.
majorly recently. With their a lot of this season, he's struggled. He's only averaging 9 points a game, but he's put up 21 as an average in the last 2. So if he steps up, Wisconsin absolutely has a good chance in this one.
No, I agree. It's not going to be an easy one to predict for sure, but you
It
know, I
100% could go either way.
it could go either way. I just feel like there's less variability with what we're going to get out of James Madison. They're pretty fundamentally
Wisconsin has
sound.
been very inconsistent. James Madison hasn't. Trust the consistency.
Absolutely. After that, we go 4-13, Duke and Vermont. As much as I don't like Duke because all
Can't
the
pick the Catamounts
confidence.
in this one.
No,
You've
I'm
liked
not.
the Catamounts in the past.
I've liked the Catamounts in the past, but I'm not going to do it. Um, doesn't mean I'm not a Catamounts guy. I'm just not that big of a Catamounts guy. Um, I swear to God, if Duke loses this one, they're dead to me. They are dead to me because I am already pissed off at them as is for making me look stupid in the ACC tournament. I swear to
They
God,
haven't
Duke,
looked great.
they're gonna turn me into a Duke hater if they blow this one.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, they haven't been playing well this or at least recently, but everything that I've seen out of Vermont, they don't look like a strong 13 like perhaps they have in the past.
Mm-mm.
I think what it comes down to is I don't know if they have anybody to guard Filipowski. If there's anywhere that Duke has struggled is if they can't get Filipowski going. Vermont doesn't really like they have a big stopper in that, and I think they'll get enough going with their guards that they should win this one relatively comfortably.
Yeah, that what Tim said. I'm there too. Texas Tech and NC State. This is an interesting matchup because
This one's so fun.
we didn't really think NC State was going to be here, but through blood, sweat, tears, grit, and a little bit of luck along the way, here they are stealing a bid in the ACC, and Texas Tech has stood up to and by most accounts responded favorably well in an incredibly tough Big 12. So, oh geez, with NC State, how much more gas do they have left in the tank? You know, sure they get a little bit of a gap to prepare, but 5 games in 5 days in the ACC tournament and running through that gauntlet is really tough, and I'm not sure that it's going to continue. So I'll take the Red Raiders.
This is one where I have to go with the complete opposite argument of you. They stood the test of that gauntlet, and now they get the break. I'm ignoring most statistics in this one. I'm looking more at how they're playing more recently. I usually am a metrics guy, but I kind of ignore the metrics in this one as much as I like how Texas Tech plays. I'm playing the hot hand and saying that NC State keeps up their streak here and just playing really, really solid basketball.
And that's fair. All the metrics go out the window when you factor the human element into this game. And the human element is how Cinderella teams happen, like NC State winning. Granted,
And
what I
I was
think
going to
is a
say, and
weak
Texas Tech
ACC,
can. I don't think
but
Texas Tech likes this matchup. I think they look at a team that's playing this well. They can't come into this one that confident. So I think what it comes down to is if NC State catches them on the right foot, similar to, I mean, winning 4 games in 4 days and then facing North Carolina, if they can get an ounce of that type of intensity and the way they approach that game into this matchup, I don't see Texas Tech being able to put up enough to pass them.
I see your point. This matchup is just so unpredictable. I think it's maybe one of the most unpredictable matchups in the entire bracket. So
This one just feels like a grit matchup. Who has enough in the tank and who has more heart to win this game, because they're both very good basketball teams that have played pretty darn well as of lately.
yeah, I mean, we see eye to eye on a lot, but I'm kind of glad that we're opposing on this one. Next up is Kentucky and Oakland. The champs of the Horizon League are the champs of the Horizon League, and they're a one and done. I'm not sure how they're going to stand up to what Kentucky can throw at them.
Yeah, as much as some people like some of the interesting metrics that Oakland has in terms of how they've played through the year, but I don't see it. Kentucky may or may not put up a stinker somewhere along the way when it comes to their offense just
Mm-hmm.
either falling flat and their defense not being able to step up, but it's not going to be in this one. I don't think Oakland has nearly the defensive prowess to handle all the different weapons that Kentucky has, and I really don't think that all of them fall flat in this one particularly.
Sure. I mean, Kentucky is susceptible to an upset. I just think you need a stronger presence in that matchup
Or a
than
stronger
Oakland
offense, because
to
that's where
knock them
Kentucky's
off the
been known
game.
to fall. Kentucky's been known to fall if they get in a shootout and they just don't quite have enough shots falling. Oakland's not going to beat them in a shootout.
No, I completely agree. Next up for the 7-10, we have Florida taking on the winner of Boise State and Colorado. Those two teams, it's interesting. They're better than a 10 seed, in my opinion. And with Florida, you know, you talk about the fundamentals, you talk about their rebounding, you talk about their size, how they get after it. Um, one of these first four are gonna emerge. I'm not gonna lie. I like what the Broncos bring to the table. I really do. So this isn't just one prediction, it's two. So if Boise State doesn't beat Colorado and then also beat Florida, this one goes up in smoke very, very easily. I mean, the odds are stacked against me, but sometimes you just got to roll with it.
Guess what? I'm right there with you, but on the flip side, I love what Colorado has been bringing to the table lately, and I actually have them not only winning their first four in, or first their
Yeah, their
their
first
10
four in.
matchup. Yeah, their first four in matchup. But I also have them upsetting Florida here. Some of that comes down to I liked the way that Florida at least tried to battle Auburn, but what I saw that really was their downfall was losing Micah Hanlogton with the broken leg, and their forwards and centers that they're essentially their forwards that they tried to bring back in. They're not as strong. They're still decent on the offensive end, but I think Colorado is going to be able to win the inside game and in turn actually come out with this matchup. So I like them here. So we both have the 10 over the 7, but we have different 10s.
Yeah, I mean, there's a first four team that advances to the second round every year. We're just kind of on different sides of which one it is. The 215 for the South, Marquette and Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky's a fun story. They were here on the auto bid, but they're a 15 seed, and Marquette is very, very good. When they're healthy, they can contend for the national championship. Pretty cut and dry to me. Marquette.
Yeah, I mean, it is relatively pretty cut and dry for me as well. I really like Marquette, especially with all signs pointing towards Kolek with his oblique injury coming back. The one thing that I like noting about Western Kentucky, though, is they are the fastest team in all of college basketball. They lead all of NCAA in tempo with about 75 possessions a game. So if they make this a track meet and for some reason Marquette's shots aren't falling, this could get really interesting, but
Yeah,
I still
but
trust Marquette fully healthy.
that's a lot of variables, man.
True. I just
If
like putting that
that's
in just on the off chance that it happens. I can say,
that's if Western Kentucky controls the tempo
Yeah.
and if Marquette is off of their game, which more often than not they're on.
The fact that they were able to get to the Big East championship game without Tyler Kolek proves the essentially strength of their overall lineup, which is why I'm still picking Marquette in this one. I just think that it's a fun 215 to watch.
I agree. And I mean, who knows? Shaka Smart's history in the tournament hasn't been great. It just may come back to bite him a little bit later, but we're going to keep it pushing. We're halfway through. Next up, we got the Midwest. Tim, your Purdue Boilermakers are taking on the winner of Montana State and Grambling State.
I love just the sigh where it's like, wait, we
Purdue.
actually have to talk about this game, but
Purdue.
yeah, I'm taking Purdue as well. What it comes down to, I don't see them flopping in this game. They are different enough that
Imagine
no,
if they
no,
do.
no, no, no.
Imagine.
See, how about no?
Pretend for a second.
Imagine all the people ignoring everything you say. So no, we're gonna.
Well, if they're ignoring everything
That's
I say,
the
then that cuts
that's
out like
the
half the podcast.
that's the
So,
trauma speaking.
no, that's me poking the bear. Utah State and TCU, I like what Great Osobor brings to the table with not with TCU, with Utah State. Great Osobor is on Utah State. TCU, very transfer heavy team. Um, there's a lot to like about them. This one could go either way. I just like the Aggies.
Yeah, I like Utah State in this one as well. This one I spent a lot of time looking at, kind of considering. It feels like it really could be a massive toss-up. They both have solid strengths, but I like Utah State in this one to edge them out. I really think it just comes down to essentially kind of who defends the three ball better. Neither teams are particularly powerful from 3-point range, but I think what it comes down to is whoever shoots slightly better has the edge in this one.
See, Tim, what we're doing is we got you, who's done a little bit too much research, and
Yeah.
me, on the other hand, who's kind of foregone most of the research. All of the research has come like via the conference recaps, so I'm using my gut a lot, the more
I think
human
it'll be
element
very
side.
interesting to see which side of things ends up working out better for us in
It's
this
it's
first round. Even
different
though we have a lot of
methodology.
similar picks.
We do. We do. I think more so far than in years past, but we're going to keep it pushing with Gonzaga and McNeese State. I think McNeese State is an offense that can run Gonzaga right out of the building. And if Gonzaga has an off day, which they've been off for most of the season,
They've been
I,
playing a lot better lately.
yes, they've been playing a lot better lately, but for a team that was in danger of missing the tournament entirely about a month ago, now they're sitting at a 5 seed with a tough matchup against McNeese. Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's going to be a downslide, and this is a popular 5-12, but I mean, shoot, let's see what the Cowboys got. Let's see what Will Wade has. This is a very well coached McNeese State team.
Oh, 100%. For me, almost dead on logic. If Gonzaga plays a 5-12 matchup against almost anyone but McNeese, I think I give it to him. But
There
I
are some
really do.
strong 12 seeds in this
There,
bracket.
there are, and I really like what McNeese brings to the table in terms of their powerful offense and their ability to stick with Gonzaga's offense. And a lot of people have talked about the WCC. Them and St. Mary's kind of obviously the two-headed beast there, but it hasn't felt like a very solid conference this year. So as much as Gonzaga is usually a favorite to make some type of push because of how good their offense usually is, I don't like the inconsistency, and I like what McNeese State brings to the table enough, like you said, to kind of run them out of the gym on offense. I could see this one being a pretty high scoring matchup, and McNeese State being the controlling factor.
Absolutely. Next up on the 413 is Kansas and Samford. Samford is another pretty popular upset pick just because of how well they shoot and how often they shoot. But I don't like the variance in those kind of teams, especially coming from a mid-major. And regardless of whether Kansas is at full strength or not, I don't see them slipping up here. Not the way they did in the Big 12 tournament. Not at all.
Well, yeah, because the Big 12 tournament, you're without Dickinson and McCullough. All signs point towards right now. Bill Self has been able to say that Hunter Dickinson is working his way back towards very much likely playing. He has less word on McCullough. My book it is that Dickinson plays solid, but they're without McCullough, and that Samford is able to outrun them because they're a high tempo team, and Kansas's bad depth or lack of depth, I would say, in what they choose to play will get them in either foul trouble or tired where they won't shoot the ball very well. I've got Samford.
And it very well could happen. Um, I like the logic. I just don't think it's going to come into play until later in the tournament. It
And
might
that's
be
very possible.
the next round. It might
Because
be against
there's still a
Purdue.
chance that McCullough actually does come back. There's just less word on him right now. Dickinson has been practicing non-contact for the last 2 days, and he's apparently was supposed to practice contact for the first time today. I don't have an update on that, but that's just what I saw. So that's just what I'm going off of, because I really would love to see a 12 versus 13
That would
with
be
picking
fun.
McNeese and Samford. That would be
That would be
super
very
fun second
fun.
round matchup. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Up next, we got the 6-11 South Carolina and Oregon. The metrics don't exactly favor South Carolina, but I'm not gonna act like they favor Oregon either. Oregon kind of stole a bit here. Um, just to get to this point, and with South Carolina, that's where you add the human element of sometimes you just go and ball out. And South Carolina has stood up to some very strong SEC teams. It didn't come to fruition against Auburn, but then again, that's Auburn, and I'm really, really high on them in general. So I'll take South Carolina.
Yeah, with this one, you talk about the metrics being a little bit all over the place and not necessarily favoring one team or the other in a whole lot of ways. This one I really just looked at the eye test. Oregon has had a very up and down season, dealt with a ton of injuries. As of right now, N'Faly Dante is healthy at center for them. He's been playing like a beast, and their freshmen have really come on as of lately. I like Oregon to take this one because I think they're just playing really good basketball at the right time, and all of their pieces just seem to fit right now.
Hey, and that very well could be the case. Too much research versus not enough research, everybody. That's just how the cookie crumbles. Um, Creighton and Akron, I don't think there's much discussion on this one. The only reason Akron is here is because Kent State royally messed up. Like, Creighton is bigger, faster, stronger, better shooters, better ball handlers, better defense. And if I'm wrong, then I'm going to need a lot of kerosene.
No, Creighton's too good. I've got Creighton in this one. They're too complete to drop this one.
Next up is Texas and the winner of Virginia and Colorado State.
Virginia does not belong in this field of 68. I'm just going
I
to put that out there right now.
completely agree because that is exactly what I was going to say. And with Texas, I like Asmus and Disu, man. I and even if Virginia does beat Colorado State, they play far too slow. They play far too slow, far too methodical. Sometimes they just trip over their own feet for absolutely no reason. Colorado State on the other side, I mean, they've done okay against a rather strong Mountain West. I just don't see the winner of this one moving on.
Yeah, quite frankly, I absolutely have Colorado State over Virginia when it comes down to that play in. Virginia is too slow, and they're not good enough on offense.
Yes,
If their shots aren't falling,
but does it matter if you have Colorado State losing to Texas?
I don't. I have Colorado State moving on.
Wow.
I like Isaiah Stevens. I think their point guard play is obviously very legit. I'm really looking forward to an Isaiah Stevens Max Asmus matchup. I think they run a little bit deeper than Texas. I think that they have the ability to outscore a Texas team that is kind of, in my opinion, an unconvincing 7 seed. I do agree, and I like Max Asmus and Dylan Disu. I don't like a ton out of the rest of their lineup. I like Colorado State's ability to be either very electric or pretty flat because we've seen them be blown out at times. But I like Colorado State to step up at the right time, and they're a very balanced team between offense and defense. I think that's going to ride the wave on this one.
See, dang it. Now I kind of want Virginia to win out of spite because that would be funny.
I'm sorry. I really just don't see it happening.
I don't either. And that's the crappy thing because I want to be more right than you because
well, obviously,
because I'm a competitor and I like being right about stuff. I mean, who doesn't? But now you've put me in a tough position. You've stuck me right in between a rock and a hard place when it comes to Virginia, and I don't like it. So screw you for doing that. But finally, to wrap out the Midwest, Tennessee and St. Peter's. What in the world is St. Peter's doing here again?
You called it. I gotta give it to you. You were the one that called it. You said to watch out for them, and they're here.
Here they are. I mean, it's same St. Peter's, same Jersey tough, but different feathers, different coach, different personnel. I mean, Bashir Mason's team is a lot different than Shaheen Holloway's team. And I didn't realize this at the time that Shaheen Holloway's St. Peter's was actually just outside the top 25 in KenPom and defense, which interesting to learn 2 years after the fact. So me picking them as the miracle team is even more fluky because it was really just on a whim. God, I want to pick them. I'm so torn. I want to pick them so bad. If this was any other 2 seed, I would pick St. Peter's. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You don't know how much it pains me to do this. I love the Vols, though. The Vols are a very good basketball team. Dalton Connect, Santiago Vescovi. You got I'm blanking right now on everybody else because I'm just my heart's just breaking for St. Peter's. And by God, if they win, I will never pick against them again, ever, for anything. Right? At that point, you have
If
won
they
my eternal respect. And I, God, this sucks. This sucks. I hate this.
it's your heart versus your brain in this one. And as much as I really
I
do
don't
like the
like it,
fact that
man.
St. Peter's defense is very solid, but the problem is their offense just
It's
isn't
not
there.
that good.
They don't have a Doug Eddard on this team. And the
No,
problem
they
is with
don't.
Tennessee, you've got a great defending team and you've got a guard like Zakai Ziegler was one of the names that you
That's
forgot.
the name that I was trying to remember. I was gonna say the guy that tore the ACL, Zakai Ziegler.
Zakai Ziegler is a beast. Dalton Connect, with this being his first appearance in the NCAA tournament, I don't see him putting up a stinker. I think he's going to be on a tear. As much as I think that this one could be a lower scoring game, I don't think St. Peter's has enough offense, even if they are able to limit Tennessee
And
decently.
that makes me very sad because I want to pick St. Peter's again.
I know you do.
On to the West, one region left. UNC and the winner of Howard and Wagner, aka who's gonna lose to North Carolina, because there's only been two 116 upsets in the history of the tournament. We're not gonna see it in back-to-back years. Like, who are we kidding?
Right. And North Carolina's not tripping up in this one. I don't think they put their best foot forward against NC State. They knew they were getting in. NC State was the hot team in that one. They're not falling in this one. They're just
Yeah,
not.
I agree. And then we get to a much more interesting matchup in the 8-9. You have Mississippi State against Michigan State. I got MSU.
Really?
Yeah, I got MSU, brother. This one's a pretty cut and dry for me. I think an MSU team is going to move on. And it's not Michigan State. Mississippi State is going to mollywop them. I don't even think it's going to be close.
I was waiting for it. I was like,
yeah, I mean, enough of my shenanigans. I don't even think Michigan State deserves to be here.
see, Michigan State still is a popular pick amongst people to make like a deeper run strictly because of Izzo. Metrics have them as a very highly ranked defense. I don't really see it. I think they've been able to limit teams more based on the teams they've faced mistakes on their own. Purdue is the one that I, of course, is more talking about there. But I don't see Mississippi State making those kind of mistakes. And they have the type of defense where Michigan State's set offense is not going to get them much of anywhere. If they don't annihilate Mississippi State in transition, I don't see them having a chance in this game.
I'm going to use very, very basic logic, very like transitive property of mathematics type logic, right? Mississippi State beat a very, very good Tennessee team that I like a lot, very, very convincingly. This is a Michigan State team that I do not like in
And
any
has beat
sense of the
almost
word.
no one very convincingly except Baylor like 3 months ago.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to look at what was it? And wasn't it a neutral site game too? I think.
I believe so. It was over winter break.
Yeah,
Or
Mississippi
it could have been at
State.
Michigan State, actually. I don't know. It was a non-conference, though. It was a non-conference winter
Either
break
way,
game, so.
well, it wasn't at Waco. I know that much. And
Yeah.
look, there's a chance Izzo magic could happen because that is just how these things work.
You
And
have
I'm
to
gonna,
acknowledge it.
yeah, I'm not gonna say that it isn't a possibility that Michigan State wins. It's just in my mind, it's very, very unlikely. Sorry, not sorry. We've had strong opinions about Michigan State all year, and this is where we finally get to be proven right or so wrong.
Yeah, by the way, I also picked Mississippi State. Don't know if I actually mentioned that.
Well, I think it was implied, but we got to keep moving on. St. Mary's and Grand Canyon, another fast versus slow matchup. And I'm going to stick with the same logic. I'm going to pick the slow in St. Mary's. I like what they can do when they control the pace, when they really play to their strengths. Grand Canyon is just going to be stuck spinning their wheels in the mud.
Yeah, I think if Grand Canyon is able to play this game faster, I think they might be able to come out in this one. But everything that I've seen of St. Mary's this year, and even their success against Gonzaga in 2 out of 3 games, this finally seems like the St. Mary's team that's actually going to be able to take their defensive control and actually establish it in the NCAA tournament. That's where they've kind of been able to struggle in the past is everything that they've done on the defensive end hasn't necessarily translated to the NCAA tournament. This is the year that I think it happens. I think that's the most complete defense, complete team that they've had in a bit. So I actually have St. Mary's in this one as well over Grand Canyon, although I really did want to take Grand Canyon here for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's tempting.
I can't pick every 12 over 5, though, and I've picked a couple.
Next up, we have the 4 and the 13, Bama and Charleston. There are times when Bama could be upset when their defense just kind of falters. But I don't really think this is one of them. Not to say that the College of Charleston is going to be any slouch by any stretch of the imagination. I just don't think in a track meet they're going to be able to keep up.
No, I think with the way Alabama scores, Charleston doesn't have the offense to try to keep up with that. When Alabama slips up is when there's an offense that can take advantage of Alabama's defensive struggles. I don't think Charleston has that enough to, and also be able to defend guys like Mark Sears. So Alabama, I just think, is too powerful in this one.
Coming down to the home stretch, you got the 6-11 of the West, Clemson and New Mexico. If you watched both the best of the rest and the ACC breakdown, then my pick is going to be very, very obvious. I picked New Mexico to win the Mountain West. They did. They're fun. They're fast. They know how to win. They ran through a strong conference, and Clemson just seems kind of fluky to me. I'll take NMU.
Clemson is very up in the
Lobos?
Air. They're a fun team. They're a very fun team to watch, and they're playing good basketball right now. I think everything they do well kind of has the ability to take advantage of a lot of things that Clemson doesn't. And I like the way that they're playing right now. I don't trust Clemson, and for that reason, I'm actually taking the Lobos not just for the first round. I think the Lobos actually exit the first weekend.
Wow, way to play your hand in the next video, but I
only if they
agree.
win.
That's
only
true.
If the Lobos win, it's only playing my hand if they actually win.
That's true.
So they'll have to prove me right.
And I think New Mexico is going to have a pretty easy road to do the exact same thing, because in this 3-14, we have Baylor and Colgate. There are some picks that you have to make on logic. And there are some picks that you just acknowledge that my bracket is not going to be perfect no matter how I slice it. Give me Colgate. Let's go. Third time's a charm, baby.
Oh, man.
Give me Colgate. They're not just a toothpaste brand. They're gonna stick it to Baylor.
Love the toothpaste. Love the team. They're a fun team again. We've seen them in the past. But I trust Baylor in this one.
Yeah, of course you do, because why wouldn't you?
Colgate hasn't proved me wrong yet. I have not picked them in any of the times that they have made it here to the NCAA tournament. And I got to be honest, I got to run with history on this one.
I mean, or you could do the fun thing and agree with me on Colgate for once.
See, but would that have ever worked out for me in the past? No. So I'm going to let you dig your hole deeper, and I'm taking the Bears.
Yeah, but anybody who knows me knows that when I get in a hole, I just grab the shovel and dig deeper. Exactly. Third time's the charm. Next up, you got Dayton and Nevada for the 7-10. I like the season that Nevada's had. I think that if this gets close, that their talented guard play can come through, especially at the free throw line. But clearly the committee saw something in Dayton that the rest of us did not. Even with the shrunken bubble, Dayton was well inside. That's because this Dayton team is legit. They are, I would even argue, a strong 7 seed and a very good candidate to move on here. So I'll take the Flyers.
I actually, believe it or not, really like the Flyers. The more that I looked at them, and just because they were not a team that I followed for a lot of this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of up in the air in this matchup going.
No disrespect to the A10, but the only reason that you strictly or religiously follow the A10 is if you are inside the A10 itself. And if you're not, then they really don't get enough national recognition, in my opinion.
They don't get much attention.
Yeah, I think they're one of the better mid-majors in the country, mid-major conferences, and I think you got a couple teams that are legit here. Dayton is one of them, but
yeah, I really like the Flyers, and I love their shooting, so I have to take them in this one. They have convinced me that they are legit.
And for the final one, we have the 215, Arizona and Long Beach State. Arizona has been in this position before as a 2 seed up against Princeton, and Princeton came out and shocked them. And you add a guy like Caleb Love, you get an extra dimension added there. You think this Arizona team is going to come out with a fire, with a hunger that, we're not going to let this happen again. But on the other side, you look at Long Beach State, what a ride they've had. Agree to mutually part ways with their coach before their conference
Before
tournament.
the conference tournament.
And
then they storm it.
And then the beach, the dirtbags, even though that's baseball, but the beach, they went out and won it. So sometimes you got to go with the metrics, and sometimes you got to go with the human element. I always have a Cinderella team, a 15 seed that is going to come out and shock the world. Long Beach State is going to do the impossible and send Arizona home early once again. Book it. That is my book it for this tournament. Long Beach State is going to defeat Arizona.
What I love about this is the exact same spot in the bracket in which you took St. Peter's over Kentucky last year. The
Absolutely.
last pick of the video.
2 years ago.
The last, 2 years ago, sorry. The last pick in or the bottom left corner
Absolutely.
of the west side of the bracket. And for once, I am on the train with you.
Yes! Let's go!
I rarely ever pick massive upsets, but when I look at this game, it's everything I like about the hot Cinderella team and the story.
Absolutely.
And everything that I hate about the volatility of Arizona's team. Where Arizona will fall flat is the fact that they will come out and they will throw up maybe a 30% game from the floor with Caleb Love shooting 4 for 17.
And this is what we saw from Caleb Love. This is what we saw from Caleb Love at UNC. He tried to go Blicko mode, tried to play hero, that he's the only one on the floor, and it bit North Carolina in the ass. This could be another game like that for Arizona.
I wasn't sure if we were going to see eye to eye when I finally was going to pick a 215.
We're beaching, baby.
But I also love the fact that we both have our same big Cinderella bucket.
Oh, absolutely.
This is unheard of on Running the Table. I never have these type of picks, but I'm so here for it.
And you don't know how happy that makes me, because for once in your life, Tim, you actually went with your heart and your gut instead of your mind. And you've come to find that, hey, it's actually a lot of fun, especially if it's going to work out. But
I hope it does.
That's all we got for our first round predictions. It's finally here. We love March Madness. We'll see how these age, either very, very well or very, very poorly. But we're going to have a blast doing them either way. We're going to be here for each round of the tournament like we do every year. So we appreciate every single one of you that sticks along for this absolutely wild and amazing ride. We love it so, so much. But if you want us to talk about anything else, well, it's pretty much unlikely that we're going to talk about anything else because we're right in the thick of the tournament. What else are we going to talk about? Let us know anyway, because
let us know how you feel about our picks, because I want to see if anybody has some of these same big shot ones that we do, what some of the popular upset picks are. I'm hoping we continue to have some great showing out in our bracket challenge. It's always fun to see how many we can get in there. So I'm super excited for this week and beyond for the rest of March.
Yeah, how many idiots are going to pick Arizona? Aren't you guys going to feel dumb when the Beach win?
The Arizona hive mind.
Absolutely. But like and subscribe for more content. Until next time, we out.